Oh my goodness. Welcome back. Welcome back for the first time in a long time to Fantasy Armchair Athletes. This is your one-stop shop to out-research your fantasy opponent. So if you are new, make sure you like and subscribe for daily content. And I do promise daily content that will help you outsmart your entire league. I see we have Brian and Prey in the chat. It has been a long time. If it's your first time here, we're going to give you a lot of information to help you out-research your fantasy opponent. And those who have been here before know I will follow up on that, but holy hiatus. I have some explaining to do. A lot of explaining to do. Never planned on completely abandoning this channel like I ended up doing, but the plan was to always come back. It was more so of a when and not so much of an if. So I'm not one too much to talk about my personal life, but I do feel like I owe everybody here a pretty decent and thorough explanation, so I'll do my best on that. From there, you're going to hear about what you can expect coming up on this channel. I have some schedule changes. Some ideas that I feel are more sustainable for me, but also are more realistic for you. And I'll kind of go into depth on that in a little bit. And then we're just going to do a fantasy football Q&A. So if you have any questions about the chaotic moves going on right now, I do have a ticker at the bottom that's already addressing Dalvin Cook. We'll talk about Zeke. We'll talk about Calvin Ridley. We'll talk about some preseason standouts, the whole 9 yards. And then I'll probably just sit on a mock draft to kind of see how the recent moves have impacted the market, at least in a small sample size. And throughout that, you can just fire away with questions. But it is good to be back. And I really missed this. It is a breath of fresh air. So all of you are probably wondering, Corey, what on earth have you been doing? Where have you been for the last 6 months? So I'll give a little background on myself to kind of contextualize and make sense of all this. I just graduated college with a radio, TV, film degree and then a minor in journalism. It's my goal to kind of do what I'm doing here at a professional level. And I've been very fortunate to build up a crowd of over 600 of you that I left for a bit. But that's kind of what I'm majoring in. That's kind of what I want to go into eventually. Work for a studio, work for something else. I do have a job update that I can kind of give all of you pretty soon once I'm allowed to release the information. But yeah, I'm going to be drinking a lot of water. It's been a while since I've talked this prolonged. But so where have I been? I just graduated with a bachelor's degree in radio, TV, film, and journalism from the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. So I'm a Wisconsin boy, and I had a phenomenal experience there from 2019 to 2023. Graduated mid-May. I was able to be the commencement speaker, which I was really excited about. I was the voice of that school's athletics program. It was D3, but it was huge. We'd have thousands on hand for football, baseball, basketball. Soccer had a really good following too. Volleyball went to a national tournament. So I was the sports director there, meaning I was getting this entire crew together to put up all these cameras, put up computers, put up audio and video switchers, all that good stuff. But I also want to go into broadcasting, and my bosses were very nice in allowing me to call some tournament games. I mean, that's way back in March, right? That's just about when I dipped from this channel. And then I graduate, and my first full-time job is being the play-by-play voice for the Kenosha Kingfish. They are a summer collegiate wood bat team. They are in the Northwoods League. So these are guys who are looking for playing time. Maybe they're redshirted at a big school like Arizona or Louisville or something, and they want to get some playing time. Or maybe it's D2 or D3 or a JUCO player, junior college, trying to look for some recognition, a scouting opportunity, if you will. So I was calling for that team, and it was a 72-game season that actually just ended 2 days ago. So I called 36 games at home. I was their beat reporter. I was doing media relations. All of that, camera setup. We had somebody quit on us, so I was kind of dipping into a different boundary and helping out with the job there, but the crew that did stay was phenomenal. With all of that, I was working 60 to 70 hours a week, pretty consistently, on site, not just remote work. Remote work would probably be closer to 80. I'm writing recaps, I'm prepping my own notes, I'm putting out game notes for other broadcasters. I mean, there were days, guys, I'm not trying to make an excuse, but I do feel like you all deserve to know why I was gone for so long. There were days where I would work from 11 to 11, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., I could have thrown together a short or maybe a short video, in the morning every week or so, every 2 weeks. The production would not have been there. It just wouldn't have. I will have a job pretty soon that's going to be more closer to 40 to 50 hours a week. I will be able to give my 100%. And that was my whole thing with this channel. I didn't want to just dwindle away and have the production quality go. Should I have communicated a little bit better and said, hey, I'm going to be taking a break? Yes, but I didn't really want to accept the fact that something I had worked so hard to build up in Fantasy Armchair Athletes had to be left for a bit. So I kept telling myself, we'll get back to it, we'll get back to it. But I refused to get back to it until I could put 110% into this thing. And I'm at a place where I think I can do that. I'm going to outline next what can you expect coming up in the season of 2023 to 24 on this channel. If you were with me last year, I came in about week 3 with some shorts, started going live around week 5 or 6. That's a ballpark estimate. And from there, we had a lot of fun. Built up a pretty decent amount of you. And again, Brian Pereira and Prey, you two are day ones. So it's awesome to see you back and sticking with me after this hiatus. I have some numbers. I have some analytics. I have some strategies for both of you and for anybody who tunes in to watch. But so I'm going to be drinking a lot of water. What can you expect coming up on this channel? So I will go daily basis, weekly basis, and then a special series that I teased last season rolling into this year that I am owning up to and definitely doing and really excited for. So on a daily basis, news will be released in the form of YouTube Shorts. I was kind of doing this last year, so you know, your Dalvin Cook to the Jets, or your Ezekiel Elliott to the Patriots, or your Calvin Ridley to the Jags, and he looks really good in training camp. I will be talking about transactions in the NFL, injuries, huge performances, depth chart moves, you name it. That's going to be your 15 to 30 second report in the form of shorts. Okay, so that's kind of the same as what I was doing last year. If there's some breaking news, I'm going to try and not only re-break it, because, you know, if Adam Schefter breaks that a quarterback's moving to a different team, I'll make something up. Tim Tebow comes back to the Broncos. I'm not just going to re-report it. I'm going to try and tell you what the fantasy implications are. And I'll do it in a nutshell in 15 to 30 seconds. Then I'll do a more in-depth video on maybe a broader topic. For example, you know, the decreasing value of fantasy running back ones, or picking the running back in the first round because of what we have been seeing the last couple of days where you have a lot of handcuff situations. So the broader topics are going to be with videos, but breaking news reports, you're basically just going to see me put a fantasy football spin on it. Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Calvin Ridley. I've been bringing up those 3 examples. You know, Deontay Foreman to the Bears. That's way long ago. I'm going to talk about the fantasy implications of that news. On a weekly basis, I'm going to be doing who's hot and who's not at each position, basically. A style of that. I'll come up with my own name for it going into each week. So all 18 weeks through quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. I feel like defenses are pretty dependent, and you can kind of just pick those up, and I'm always willing to answer questions on those. You know, depending on weak opposition, you can kind of just float around and get whatever defense you want. The deviation is not going to be that crazy, you know, from one middle of the pack team to one that's maybe scraping the bottom of the barrel. But last year, what I would do on a weekly basis for quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end was start 2, sit 1. I felt like that was really subjective. You know, if I'm talking to somebody who's in a 6 or 8 team league, some people even do 4s, and I tell you, start Justin Jefferson, start Mike Evans, and sit Adam Thielen. Well, maybe somebody in a 14-team league is going, Adam Thielen is my second best wide receiver, buddy. I mean, there's a lot of talent being dispersed across a large pool. I can't just have the luxury of going out and getting Mike Evans. You know, that's not feasible for me. Well, now I'm going to do more of a who's hot and who's not. Maybe it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6. But basically, I'm going to be saying these are people who are on the uptick. They're going to outperform their average based on what I'm seeing opposition-wise. And these are people, or, you know, maybe just usage. And then these are people who I feel will have a down week, and here's why. I'm just talking relative to their averages. Because, again, if I'm telling you to start Justin Jefferson, and there's no way on God's green earth you're going to go get him with a trade, or start Mike Evans and sit Adam Thielen, but Thielen's your best wide receiver, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm going to tell you some guys who are trending upwards and downwards with those patterns, and hopefully you can apply those patterns to your own players if I'm not naming them off. I might do a full-blown 30 wide receiver, quarterback, running back, and tight end ranking system, but I just want to, for the sake of sustainability, promise you at least this. Trending upwards and trending downwards at each position every week. That's what I'm sticking to right now, and if I can expand beyond that, I will gladly do so. Of course, I will always answer your questions. This is something I really stressed throughout the first year of this channel. If you have any questions, regardless of whether it relates to the topic I'm talking about in this video or not, pop that in the comment section below, and I will answer for you in as much depth fashion as possible. George is back. Yeah, I am here, George. It is good to be back. Long hiatus. Feel free to get to the beginning of the video to kind of learn why I was gone, but long story short, graduated college, took on a play-by-play job that I absolutely loved, but it took almost 70 hours a week. So I was working a lot of 12, 13, 14-hour days, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to give my 110% to this channel, which is what all of you deserve. So I ended up taking a hiatus. So yeah, daily and weekly content. Now, special series. I'm very excited for this, and if you were sticking around before the hiatus, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I am drafting the worst fantasy team possible, and I'm working my way into the playoffs through free agency and trades. I'm looking for a standard PPR 12 team, and I think what's going to be really funny is, hey, I'm just going to go into a random lobby. Johnny D, good to see you here. I'm going to go into a random lobby where the chat is on. It'll be ESPN Fantasy Football, and I'm going to go out and draft people who might still be on the interface but are in no way going to be in the league this year, like a Johnny Manziel or an Antonio Brown. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that repeatedly. I might get one starter. I might get a kicker. I might go get Justin Tucker. And from there, it is my job to show all of you that you can truly build up a feasible team and even a playoff team through free agency and through trades. Now, if there's a free agency, waiver grab transaction, whatever you want to call it, trade limit, where you have to pay for each one in your league, that's not going to do the best. But most, and I want to say most, I'm kind of speaking broad here. Good to see you, Ryan. You're back with your podcast too. It's awesome to see you doing great things. Maybe we'll collab pretty soon. But yeah, so I am drafting the worst fantasy team possible, and with the exclusion of those leagues where there's a transaction fee of some sort for waivers or trades, I'm going to try and build from the ground up. And I think it'll be pretty funny. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing the chat responses when I go out and grab Antonio Brown or, somebody super random. They have to be backups. They can be in the league, but it has to be a backup of some sort. Maybe I go out and get Case Keenum, right? It has to be ridiculous. Trace McSorley. But that's pretty much the goal, is to have the worst team. I'm talking when the projection comes out after you draft them, it says for week 1 you're supposed to put up 25 points. That's the range we're looking for, and as soon as that draft's done, we go in, grab the best people we can off of waivers. We got to obey by the Wednesday rule for the most part, and we build up and try and scrape our way into the playoffs. So in 12-team standard PPR, that's probably going to be the top 4. It's going to be tough, but I'm at least going to try and put together a respectable record, not only for my own amusement and the amusement of all of you throughout the drafting and just struggling process that this is going to be, but a lot of people say, oh, I didn't draft well or I had a couple of injuries, I'm screwed. There's absolutely no way that I'm making the playoffs. Well, I am starting quite literally from rock bottom, and I'm going to try and show you that you can pick apart waiver wires in a pretty deep league. I would say 12 is pretty standard. You can swing some trades, and you can capitalize on injuries. That's the biggest thing. You need to pay attention when somebody gets hurt, somebody gets dropped, there's a depth chart change, somebody's doing great in practice and might take over for someone else. I'm going to show you through all of that and through a ton of thorough research, you could put together a pretty good team, despite what I'm going to show you is putting up the worst draft performance in history. You could still recover from it. What is the best play for a 10 or 12 team league? Wide receiver first or running backs? Johnny, I will talk to you, or I will answer that for you in just a second. It's going to depend on PPR, so make sure you specify that for me. I'm assuming you're talking about PPR, but if it's half-point PPR or just standard, let me know and we'll get to that. So special series, yep, and then fantasy Q&A. That's the part we're at right now. Just going to go over a couple things, and Johnny, this is going to relate to your question if indeed you are talking about PPR. So as you can see on the bottom ticker there, Dalvin Cook to the Jets on a 1-year deal worth up to $8.6 million. Ezekiel Elliott to the Patriots. This helps Tony Pollard, obviously. It hurts Mr. Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson is going to be in for one, and obviously Damian Harris is still back there too. I say it hurts Stevenson because Ezekiel Elliott was a touchdown merchant last season. I'm not the biggest fan of that term, but it definitely applied. Tony Pollard was rushing far more efficiently than Ezekiel Elliott. He was beating him by more than a yard per carry and then some. Zeke was averaging less than 4 yards per carry, yet he found the end zone 12 times. So Tony Pollard, you've seen it all the time. You've got one running back driving your team down the field, and then Zeke punches it in the final 1 or 2 yards, right? So that's just kind of my take on that. And let's see, Brian, anyone use the Sleeper app? This is year 2 of my fantasy experience. PPR and was told Yahoo and Sleeper are better than ESPN. Sleeper I've used for Dynasty, Brian, so that's when your team carries over from year to year and you get some keepers. It really goes from interface to interface, but I feel like the format's pretty universal. Yeah, Yahoo's pretty cool. The thing with Yahoo and ESPN and pretty much any of them now, Sleeper is a newer one, is that you can join a random lobby of people, and you don't have to know them. And if you want to compete for money, let's say it's 10, 15, 20, 25, $50 for an entry fee, you can do that. It'll throw it into a pool, and then there's no relying on honors here where you give all of your money to the league admin and then the league admin gets ticked off and no one gets anything or someone doesn't pay their dues. It's all mechanical. So that's the pretty cool part. It just disperses the money to the winner, barring any crazy situation with, mathematical errors or something like that. It's pretty cool. So yeah, Sleeper's newer. I've seen it used for Dynasty a lot. Brian, I highly recommend it. And Johnny, your question is kind of what I'm addressing now. So we're seeing Dalvin Cook go to the Jets, right? That's obviously going to impact Breece Hall's production. And Alexander Mattison over there in Minnesota, congratulations to him. He gets to break out now. We're also seeing Tony Pollard kind of get to escape out of the shadow of Ezekiel Elliott, which we saw last year, but again, touchdown merchant, right? My point with two of these, and this is what I'm going to say to your question, Johnny, running back fantasy value is down. I mean, this is not breaking news to anybody, right? The handcuff running back strategy is here. Handcuff running back, I mean, you want to get two guys who are getting dual usage. This is your A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, or modern day, right? This is your Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift over on the Eagles. That is going to be a deadly, deadly duo in the backfield if they can stay healthy. And if one of them gets hurt, which, by the way, Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift both struggled mightily with injuries last year. Penny had a season-ending injury a couple of weeks in, and that's why we met Kenneth Gainwell, right? Or not Kenneth Gainwell, Kenneth Walker III. That's why we're seeing these handcuff running backs. In general, I would say that wide receivers like Justin Jefferson, like Jamar Chase, wouldn't go so much with A.J. Brown because we want someone who's going to get a lot of volume. But he could be a late first rounder, right? I'm definitely valuing a wide receiver over a running back with a couple of exceptions. If we can get Jonathan Taylor back from a couple of years ago, I'll go with that. If we keep seeing the same output from CMC, despite the fact he is sharing a backfield with Elijah Mitchell and occasionally Deebo Samuel, I'll go with that. But we want pass catchers, and that's mainly going to be in the form of wide receivers. When we have running backs, especially in this day and age, who are pinned to somebody else for usage, Breece Hall's not going to be the talent that we thought he was going to be anywhere close to what we saw last year because he's got to share a backfield with Dalvin Cook now. He might still be their one, but this day and age, we're not seeing a Derrick Henry or, Jonathan Taylor, at least for right now, a Matt Forte with the Bears going back, a LaDainian Tomlinson. Johnny, it is PPR. I'm definitely flying with wide receivers then, man. We're not seeing a running back that is just going to be a bruiser, a Frank Gore, perfect example. 30 to 35 times a game. They are hammering it right up the middle. HB dive, right? We're not seeing that anymore. Why? Because not everyone is Frank Gore or Derrick Henry who's knocking on the door of 30 years old. Teams want to hold on to running backs longer, and as a result, their value both contractually and fantasy-wise is going down. What does that look like? When you give Breece Hall 15 carries a game and when you give Dalvin Cook 12 carries a game or vice versa, they're going to last longer. You're going to see more running backs playing into their 30s just due to yet less usage. That's all it is. Less usage. You're not seeing someone hammer the ball 30 times a game. I don't know how Christian McCaffrey is still playing football with how much Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers were utilizing him. He would come back from an ACL or really any knee-related injury, any lower body injury, which are killer for running backs, and 2 weeks in, he's getting the ball 30 to 35 times in his first couple of games on average. We're just not seeing that anymore, and, running backs, they're blocking. They're taking the ball. We're seeing the HB dives. Even the guys who are searching for the sidelines, your Tariq Cohens, right? They're taking hard contact on late hits. Running backs are bruised up so much, whether they have the ball or not, whether they're a decoy, whether the play is surfaced around them or they're just being used, right? In order for teams to keep a running back around realistically past the age of 30 and for them to be any sort of effective, they can't get the ball 20 to 25 times a game. It's got to be 15 for one guy, 15 for another, and that's why we're seeing, again, A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. That's why we are seeing Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift. The list goes on and on and on, and there are a select few, like your Austin Eckler's, like your Christian McCaffrey's right now, and even then I would argue San Francisco's dialing it back on him. The whole backfield just got hurt in general. But we're seeing a lot more of teams just making sure that they can load the backfield. Bijan Robinson, why on earth did he go to Atlanta? Well, he was the most talented running back there, but also, if we look ahead 5, 6, 7 years, maybe they still want Tyler Algier to be around, or maybe they're just looking out for him and they want him to still be able to play effective football. That's not going to happen if he's the guy that's getting 25 to 30 touches a game, and I'm playing around with that range. But if he's sharing it with a guy like Bijan, right, and vice versa, Bijan doesn't need to go to a place where they don't have a running back. If he goes there and they have a feature back like Algier, who was very efficient, a 1,000-yard rusher in his rookie year, why not share it? Unfortunately for us fantasy owners, you're not going to get a running back that's putting up 20 to 25 points a game anymore, unless we see more of the pass-catching type, which we've seen since Le'Veon Bell came and left the league. So that's kind of my take on that, Johnny. A pass-catching running back will be my exception for PPR, but you just are not seeing the usage that Derrick Henry, Frank Gore, Jonathan Taylor a couple of years ago were getting. You're seeing Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman. I could go through an entire division. It was Alexander Mattison and Dalvin Cook, right? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, that's just the North. But we're just not seeing a running back that's featured. The guy. More often than not, it's going to be 2 or 3. It's running backs by committee. And it's also just a security blanket for a team. If your number one guy goes down and the second guy hasn't been getting reps, you don't know what you're going to get out of him, and that's a horrifying feeling. So I would bring up the Lions too, but they kind of just blew up their backfield for Jahmyr Gibbs, which is another debate. But let's just go through a mock draft, and if you guys have any questions at all, we will just tackle them, because why not? All right, let's see here. We got to wait a little bit. I'm going to shoot for a 12-teamer. And it starts in 4 minutes. Fine with me. $8:30. But yeah, in general, we want running backs that are getting a lot of usage, and we want, in general, people who are getting the ability or the opportunity to touch a ball a lot. So availability, opportunity, and productivity. That was my mantra last year. Are they healthy? Are they available? Are they getting the opportunity? Are they seeing the ball a lot? And when they do get the ball, are they productive? If you can find someone who strikes through those 3 standards, and you can find a few of them to lean on, you are going to be a tough cookie to beat. And that's my whole goal here, to help you out research your fantasy opponent. Always has been. I want to make sure that you are week in and week out a dominant force. Yeah, just in general, not seeing as many dominant running back ones. Maybe we're just going through a phase, but I think teams are starting to realize that, like Naeem Hines, there's longevity aspect there. Simply enough, if you don't use someone a ton every single week, especially in a day and age where we just expanded the NFL season by 1 week, we're going to 18 instead of 17. That change was made a couple of years ago. You're going to have your running back for longer. Somebody who usually takes a lot of contact, if they get less snaps, naturally they're going to last longer. But the 2 downfalls of that are for people like us who play fantasy football. You're not going to get as much value out of running backs in general because teams are switching off. And also for those running backs, they're not going to be worth as much money, but they will play for longer. So maybe they play until they're 30, but they're in a situation like Dalvin Cook where they're only able to sign a 1-year deal at a time, kind of a bunch of prove-it deals. And then from there, it's kind of just up in the air. But yeah, good to see Brian's back, Prey is back, George is back, Johnny is back, Brian is back. I mean, to see this amount of you guys here after a decently long hiatus, one that I definitely wasn't planning on doing, is pretty awesome. JP3, I'm not sure if that's a new name. Do you eat cheese? Is that a Wisconsin joke? Yeah, I do indulge in cheese. I kind of wonder, right? Because we have grilled cheese, we have pizza. At least around here, when you take a picture, you say cheese just to make yourself smile. I'm like, you know what? Because I'm in Wisconsin, is that why that's prevalent? Probably not, but how would I know? I haven't really moved. I've traveled and stuff, but I know in New York they don't say apple, but I do eat cheese, yes. I don't think I eat cheese more so than others, but Here's an interesting one. Is anybody in the comments familiar with cheese curds? It's like fried cheese balls. Those are very prevalent in Wisconsin. If you ever travel here, highly recommend. But I would say Eagles fan, believe it or not. Oh boy. I will probably join 2 to 3 different leagues this season and hope I can get the most of the same guys. Odd seeing Jonathan Taylor still lead the pack on the running back side when he hasn't played consistently. Yeah, Johnny, I feel like a lot of people are just anticipating a resurgence. You know, the fresh legs factor. Why is everybody so hyped up about Calvin Ridley other than the fact that his training camp footage has been mightily impressive? He had a whole week, or a whole year, to rest. I mean, when you have a guy who is as skilled as Calvin Ridley, who not too long ago put together a 1,400-yard season coming off a year of rest, that's pretty dangerous. So, yeah. I think people in general are just kind of banking off the same thing with Jonathan Taylor. He didn't have the most efficient year, but he was also hurt, and now he's coming off of fresh legs. Now, is he going to be playing for a team that's in a position to run the ball a whole lot? I don't think the Colts are going to win a ton of games, right? But, you know, he's a pass-catching back. He's a 3-down back, one of the few left in the league. Mr. Do-It-All. I feel like it's possible. I'm not buying Jonathan Taylor in an early round, though. That's for sure. All right, I'm going to go into this draft, and you all shall come with me. Jair owns Jefferson, though. I mean, small sample size, right, but it wasn't pretty. Dalvin Cook should have went to the Dolphins. I've been seeing a lot of people say that, right, because obviously Breece Hall had a semi-breakout year before his season-ending injury. He was about to run away with the Rookie of the Year. But that's just not how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Let's see here. Ooh, what have I done? Almost lost it. Okay, drafting in 20 seconds. So you kind of see the top guys here. I mean, Derrick Henry, he is an entity, right? I personally think that Jamar Chase, especially considering that, you know, he was hurt a little bit, so was Henry 2 years ago. You've got 2 elite pass catchers. Meanwhile, you have Derrick Henry, who is knocking on the door of 30 years old. Yeah, not the biggest fan of it. And he's not a pass-catching back. Oh, dear. Can we turn that sound off? Yep. I love Jay Jetta. You can't go wrong with him. Absolutely cannot go wrong with him. And we're actually bidding here through the first round, so we'll see what everyone goes for. Oh, actually, 1 second while this is going on. Just not a big fan of Derrick Henry being up there. I'm not saying he did anything wrong, right? Don't have anything personal against the guy, but he's not a pass-catching back traditionally. He's almost 30. And I might be going out on a limb here, but I don't think the Titans are going to win a lot of games. I think DeAndre Hopkins had a lot of different options he could have exercised. Your boy messed up. 1 second. So, funny story. Wasn't really looking to do fantasy salary cap. So we're going to do this instead. I'm pretty sure I can just spin off this mock draft. I have no problem with it, but I feel like a standard PPR snake draft kind of applies to more people. That's just me, though. Okay. I'll jump back in here while we're waiting for that one to open. Why do you like bread? I don't know if I ever said I liked bread. It's not bad. Brian says, man, I still think that wide receivers are far more dynamic than running backs. Either that or I'm unlucky with who I choose. Last season for me was CMC and a bunch of others who played better when they were on my bench. Yeah, I think a wide receiver, especially in a points per reception format, is going to be the way to go for you, Brian. You know, we've got our exceptions like CMC at times, like Jonathan Taylor a couple years ago, like Austin Eckler the last couple of years, but ultimately we're getting more longevity out of a wide receiver, and in PPR, right, you need pass catchers. So unless you have someone who's putting up a phenomenal year in terms of really not only being out of the backfield, but also catching a few dump-offs, I don't love running backs in the first round. You're going to get your juggernauts. You're going to get your guys who still get a lot of volume and defy physics and absorb and eat up contact like Derrick Henry. But ultimately, I want a wide receiver, and I want someone who's consistently in that lineup getting 8 to 10 targets. Even more than that for a first-round guy, right? Let's go into this one. This is a mock. Doesn't mean anything. And I'll kind of just explain why I'm picking who I'm picking here. I wanted to do a lot of mock drafts last year, but I mean, as you can probably assume, in March, there aren't a whole lot of lobbies filling up. So, we're a couple weeks out of the season. Keep tossing those questions towards me, guys. I am ready. Been preparing for 6 months. All right, we're drafting in 25 seconds. Looks good to me. Let's just toss myself in here. Why not? I don't want to block too much. That should work. Cooper Kupp is still a wild card for me. He dropped in my mock to the 3rd round, believe it or not. I believe it, Johnny. I mean, he's had the injury issues. Let's not act like this guy's been completely healthy, right? I have a question for all of you, and I'll put it in the chat too. What is the most impactful off-season NFL move? This can be a trade. This can be somebody jumping at someone or waiting back during the draft. This can be a waiver pickup. You name it, we'll talk about it. Just kind of want to see the flow of how this draft is going. So we got Jefferson, McCaffrey, Allen, 3rd overall. Okay. Austin Eckler, Bijan Robinson. Not the biggest fan of waiting no time at all to take a rookie running back in the 1st round. Travis Kelce, understandable. Cooper Kupp going late 1 here, and then Jamar Chase. I mean, I think Tyreek Hill, it looks like chalk to me, but he is the obvious answer for me. I won't take too much time on this. Pollard could be enticing, did have plenty of pass catching upside this past season. Stephon Diggs is knocking on the door of 30 pretty soon. We're going to go with Tyreek Hill, and I'm going to turn that sound off. So I got Tyreek Hill. It'll be a quick turnaround. 14 teams standard PPR. So, man, I mean, this guy, Garrett Wilson, right? He's questionable right now. He'll be fine in the next couple of weeks. They're just being cautious with him throughout the draft, or throughout the preseason. So you'll see that in your draft boards. But that guy, in a deeper league, like a 14 or 16, he could be a first rounder. I mean, he was top 25 in the league with, I've made multiple videos on this, including my most recent YouTube short. Top 25 wide receiver in terms of fantasy with Mike White, Zach Wilson, Chris Streveler, and 2022 Joe Flacco. I like Garrett Wilson's production and presumed uptick in production with a future Hall of Famer under center and Aaron Rodgers. And I'm a Bears fan saying that, right? So, yeah, I think he's got a pretty good shot at being a top 10, maybe even top 5 wide receiver this season. So that's kind of where I have my eyes right now. I doubt Garrett Wilson falls. We're probably looking more towards like an A.J. Brown or a Josh Jacobs. I still want to get a decent running back. I don't want to be hanging around late third round waiting for a running back. So I'm going to queue up A.J. If Garrett Wilson, by some grace of glory, falls to me, I would take him in this situation for sure. Again, the output that you got out of him with one of the worst, if not the worst quarterback room in the entire league. Just imagine what it's going to be with Aaron Rodgers. I don't care that he's 40 years old. He's going to be leaps and bounds better. Maybe we jump for a Patrick Mahomes, right? I am not the biggest fan because you're not going to see the largest jump in production from 1 to 2 in the NFL. At most, maybe it's a point or two. But I feel like Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, even Fields, right, with his upside in the running department, there's not going to be much of a difference there. But, Patrick Mahomes doing what he did with the cards he was dealt after he lost Tyreek Hill, having his best passing season yet, I don't hate the pick. Will Garrett Wilson fall to me? Wow. There's the question, right? If Garrett Wilson does not fall to me, I don't love A.J. Brown, especially in a run-heavy offense that now has 2 phenomenal running backs. Big play Brown, right? And Brown went. I'm going Garrett Wilson. I feel like that's a steal at 20. I've just said it like 3 times in a row, but with the production that he had last year, that's a no-brainer for me. So Tyreek Hill and Garrett Wilson, we've got to go running back now. My plan was if Garrett Wilson went down, I feel like he will have a better year than Mr. A.J. Brown. But if Garrett Wilson was picked, I was definitely going Josh Jacobs there. Now we have to go running back. But, one of my flexes will be probably a wide receiver. Pass catcher of some sort. 37. I'm not taking Ramondre. Dameon Pierce. Not the most effective pass catcher ever. Just didn't get a whole lot of targets. Would honestly love Aaron Jones. I feel like this team more than ever is going to lean on the run game, or at least the dink and dunk game with Jordan Love back there. And Aaron Jones has always been a nice pass catcher. I'll take an extra, 59 points and then an extra 40 right there in the yards department with 5 more touchdowns. I like Aaron Jones a lot. We'll queue him up. Najee, not the most efficient, right? 3.8 yards per carry. Kind of a volume guy. He's with a rebuilding Steelers team that, in all honesty, was barely under 500, so that could go well. In a dream, I get ETN, but that's just not going to happen. Awesome pass-catching upside. Would like to see him get in the end zone a little more often, but the efficiency's there as well. Again, the 3 dynamics that I really focused on last season, folks, and they do pretty well. Availability, are they healthy? Opportunity, are they getting the ball? Are they getting snaps? In the case of these running backs who are cycling through like a revolving door. And finally, productivity. What are they doing with the ball in their hands? That's kind of what I look at rather quickly. Kelsey's still going that high. Interesting. I mean, it is, but Travis Kelce is one of the best. I mean, he's putting up numbers to be one of the best wide receivers in the entire game. He's the constant for Patrick Mahomes, and Johnny, I feel like that narrative has only gotten stronger ever since Tyreek Hill left. So we're looking ETN and Aaron Jones. We've got to have a last-ditch effort here if they go. I don't love Dameon Pierce, but what are my options after this, right? Rachaad White did okay down the stretch last year. Dameon Pierce, I would already be doubling up on a bye week, but I'm not too concerned until that number hits 3 or 4. Super small sample size, but obviously Leonard Fournette's not getting any younger. Alvin Kamara is a wild card. Miles Sanders over in Carolina now. I've never loved James Conner, but last season he did okay. I always harped on him for having, less than 4 yards per carry, but he did okay last season. James Conner will be our security blanket. We basically just need Etienne and Jones to not go back-to-back. I refuse to go after Ramondre after the news we just got today. I feel like Zeke still has something left in the tank. I'm not saying he's going to take all the carries, but 12 touchdowns, he's going to be that guy, especially at his age, to punch it in. There goes one. Okay, I just need Aaron Jones to stay, and this would be a really nice start. Ramondre, take Ramondre over Aaron Jones. That's fine with me. The Packers have been making the 2 running back system work better than almost anybody, and now they have a new quarterback under center. Where do you think they're going to lean, right? Especially when you have somebody who's as reliable as Aaron Jones. Oh, I am taking Aaron Jones. Thank you. Now, I really like this. Aaron Jones, before he got extended, I was worried that he was kind of going to be cycled out of the offense. It was going to go more towards A.J. Dillon. In all honesty, with Jordan Love in now and Jones extended, he's going to get the usage, and he's going to get those, 3, 4, 5 receptions in a game. Maybe a touchdown here or there. Those dump-offs where he is just phenomenal at reading blocks in the open field, making guys miss still at his age for a running back. I'm a big fan. He's the modern-day example of what a lot of teams want to see come out of their running backs. They're not going to get the ball 30 times a game, as I've mentioned time and time again today. But they're going to last until, I would say it's a safe bet to say Aaron Jones could be in the NFL until he's 31 or 32 if he really wanted to. And sure, Frank Gore went way further than that, but Frank Gore is an anomaly. We want running backs that are going to be in it for the long haul because of the lack of usage. James Cook, I wouldn't mind that. Alexander Mattison is obviously an optimal pick with the news we just got today. James Cook, it's tough, right? Small sample size, but I'll take somebody with 5.7 yards per carry. They're projecting him to be in the ballpark of 200 points. I think James Cook could be sneaky good. Kenneth Walker III, let's not forget about him. Questionable with 3 weeks to go. That doesn't really concern me. Dang near Rookie of the Year last year, right? I mean, we'll queue him up. We're staying away from Rashad. That team was horrible at running the ball last year. There's a reason Tom Brady retired, and it's not just his age. The O-line was rough, and they got away from the run a lot. They just straight up abandoned it at times. Cam Akers, will he have his spot back in the backfield? Will he not? I'm really not ready to wait to see if that pans out for him, especially in a starting spot. So I'll either take Kenneth Walker III or James Cook. We saw a larger sample size out of Kenneth Walker III. He did not go, and that's my guy. Again, the questionable status does not worry me at all. Let's see, Joe Burrow going early 4 after Lamar. Can't say I agree with that. DJ Moore going late 3. Let's be careful with DJ Moore, guys. I am a Bears fan. I love my Justin Fields, right? But the Bears ran the ball more than anybody else in the league last year. Yes, they went out and invested in an offensive lineman in right. They've got Tevin Jenkins from a couple of years ago. If he can stay healthy, he's an angry beast. But until we see it, we have nothing to go off of. I think Fields is a dynamic quarterback, but is he going to shove the ball to DJ Moore 10 times a game? And even if he does, how's that going to go? We don't know yet. I don't hate DJ Moore in rounds 5 or 6. And again, this is a 14-team draft. So, I mean, he's going 42nd. In a 12-team, he's going mid-4. I would say even in a league of this size, I would take him like late 4. I would have waited one more round for him. Maybe even 5th. We just don't know. That team was phenomenal at running last year, despite the fact they lost Everything about their game script in 2022, the fact that they went 3-14, says they should have been throwing, yet they ran the ball more than anybody else. So let's be careful in terms of choreographing the Bears. Any rookies you recommend? I think Jahmyr Gibbs, Johnny. The backfield was cleared for him, right? Jamal Williams, getting older, was going to be kind of expensive, and we all know the status of the running back market right now with what I've been talking about. He sets the touchdown record for Detroit. Gone. DeAndre Swift never really got a fair shake. Gone. Jahmyr Gibbs comes in. I think the Lions can win that division. And game script-wise, what do we love? We love running backs on teams that can win a lot of games. I think the Lions will be in that 8 to 10 win range. Maybe they get 11 and top out there. Jahmyr Gibbs is a phenomenal rookie I'd be looking at. And we saw him go early in this one, right? Breece Hall goes early 5. This guy strikes the eye, right? Not the same build as Mr. Tyler Lockett, but Lockett's getting much older. I could see Metcalf in this man being a good 1-2 punch. Same with Jordan Addison out of USC. Absolutely phenomenal. Just a big play guy. 59 for 875. We saw what he did at Pitt. Yeah, I like Jordan Addison, Mr. Jackson, and Jahmyr Gibbs I'm up on too. But, you know, in terms of value, maybe we get more out of the 2 wide receivers for reasons I've already explained. And I just talked through my turn. Do we go quarterback round 5? Depends on who's around. Someone already took my man in Justin Herbert. They sure did. Let's go T-Law. T-Law got another weapon in Calvin Ridley. It's now, in no particular order, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, and a pretty decent pass-catching back, and I don't say that lightly, in Mr. Etienne. So I think Trevor Lawrence could be 5,000 yard season bound. And I really like this team, especially in a 14-team format. Now we got to dig deep. I'm probably going flex before tight end, but we'll see who's on the tight end market. Lots of preseason hype for Darren Waller. Evan Ingram, is he going to get lost there? Not sure. Will Cole Kmet get lost in lieu of getting all these new weapons? Not sure. This guy's supposed to be a stud. We'll see. Okonkwo showed some upside last year. Freiermuth was constantly getting 8, 9, 10 points last year. I really loved him. Despite the fact he was competing with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool for a decent chunk of time. I really like Freiermuth. Finished 7th, middle of the road. Didn't do anything crazy. Didn't even score a whole lot. You know, he wasn't touchdown reliant, but the volume was there. Last year was just not a good year for tight ends, so I think I jump at Freiermuth if I can get him. Otherwise, I'm okay with Evan Ingram. You know, is Calvin Ridley going to stay healthy? Is anything going to happen throughout the season? Only time will tell. But Ingram did awesome. Max, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Freiermuth. Give me Freiermuth. And then we'll go for a flex. Likely a pass catcher. Oh, Christian Kirk. I feel like he's going to suffer this year. We'll see what the projection is. Yeah, I mean, they're talking less. And Zay Jones had some really huge games last year. Evan Ingram was looking like a freaking wide receiver towards the end. We already talked about Etienne's pass-catching ability, and now we have training camp Calvin Ridley. I'm going to go Freiermuth for the consistency from last year. And next, we are going to go for a reliable flex. Here's a guy who just pounds the rock, but obviously not much pass-catching upside. I mean, 5.7 yards per carry is nothing to scoff at, though, in the most run-heavy offense in the entire league. Chicago did go out and bargain for Deontay Foreman, which I feel like is an underrated move. David Montgomery wanted 3 years, 18 mil, so we're talking about $6 mil in the ballpark of with all the incentive-based stuff in the contract. $6 million per year for 3 years for a guy whose rookie contract just expired. Instead, they got someone in Deontay Foreman who was more efficient last year, and they got him for half the price. $3 million for 1 year. They're not tied to him. One of the smarter moves that I feel like Ryan Pace could have made. Numbers don't lie. 4.0 yards per carry. It was a decent run blocking scheme, too. The pass catching upside definitely there. Okay, but remember 4.0, 5 touchdowns, 800 yards. These guys are in the same spot. The Panthers were by no stretch of the imagination a good team either. So David Montgomery, we just saw his stats. Alan Lazard. I like it. For half the price. Deontay Foreman for 1 year. 4.5 yards per carry on more volume, so we have a bigger sample size. The pass catching upside just not there, but did not mean to cue him. I feel like the Bears got a bargain. This guy had such a down year. He was hurt. Still scraped across 800 yards. Troy, how's it going? What about D-Hop? CJ Stroud. Stroud, obviously people are giving him flack for the first preseason game. I say we take it with a grain of salt. D-Hop is in a run-heavy offense. We'll see how it goes, right? We'll see, is it going to be Levis? Is it going to be... We kind of have to play the waiting game until there's any finalized decisions. Oh, this guy took a hit. Traylon Burks. I was huge on him if he could stay healthy, but now D-Hop is in that wide receiving core. All right, we are on the clock. You know, I don't love gambling on rookies, but this guy had a couple phenomenal years at Ohio State. Someone's got to take the space of Tyler Lockett in terms of targets. Let's go. Let's fill out our flex. Typically, I fill out the flex spot once more. I'll get another running back or a wide receiver. We'll see who's on the market. McKinnon was sneaky efficient last year. I mean, the pass catching upside was there. He was getting at least 1 to 2 touchdowns every day for over a month. But Troy, D-Hop, I feel like it's not going to be as bad of a season as Julio Jones had last year, but it's the Tennessee Titans. They're not going to air the ball out, regardless of who's under center right now. You know, whether it's a rookie, whether it's Malik Willis. We even saw with Dobbs towards the end of the year. Nothing crazy, right? CJ Stroud, we will see. Dameon Pierce is not a pass-catching running back, so if they go run heavy, it's not going to be many dump-offs. It's quite literally going to be forking it up the middle. I think Stroud can be okay, but, I mean, that team is 3-4 years away from the playoffs, so get some good pieces around them, and then we see. And they got Devin Singletary, too, who is more of a pass-catching running back. I think Stroud will be okay. I'm thinking around the Davis Mills numbers. Mills surprisingly had a pretty good rookie year. Again, considering all the cards he was dealt, Davis Mills, not bad. Jacoby Myers could be sneaky. Sky Moore really didn't get used a whole lot. I feel like these two should not be back-to-back. Jacoby Myers, 67 receptions for north of 800 yards. Sky Moore, 22 for 250, had a couple of rushes. I mean, wow, right? Juju going to New England. They've got Bill O'Brien over there now. A little shallow at flex. Do we take a risk on Odell Beckham Jr.? Probably not. Gabe Davis fell a bit. Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, we've got so many. I'll take Gabe Davis. He's still got the same quarterback. Garoppolo over to Las Vegas. How's that going to work out? Only time will tell, and we'll wait for time to tell it. Sports Spotlight. So happy to see you're streaming again. Good to be back, man. This is going to be a routine thing. I am moving out of town pretty soon for a new job that I'm very excited to announce. Pretty soon I'll be allowed to, but it's not going to be 70 hours a week for me anymore. I did enjoy this summer, but now I have more time to spend on this channel and invest in all of you. Couldn't wait, and I drafted in my main league. Well, Sports Spotlight, you run your team by me. I'm here for you. So we got our extra flex. I typically go defense here. We want somebody who's going to stand tall. Can never go wrong with the 49ers in that front seven with Bosa. The Bills aren't a bad pick either. The Dolphins got a decent amount of pieces, but even with how much they invested in that secondary, right? Vic Fangio, though, there's a big headline. We saw what he did with the Bears, with the Broncos, at least on the defensive end. But they are a project, so I'm not crazy about the Dolphins. Bills lost Edmonds, so I'm going with the Niners if they stay up. And what are we seeing here? Daniel Jones. I mean, if you're somebody who doesn't prioritize getting a quarterback that much, Daniel Jones is going to fall. And I don't know why he's falling. I mean, he's an under-the-radar name. Ran efficiently last year. Didn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He was just your typical game manager. Didn't have any eye-popping stats, but I'll take north of 3,000 yards passing. He stayed healthy. There's your 700 yards rushing. 22 total touchdowns. Just 8 turnovers. He just didn't make a lot of mistakes. And I'm okay with that. Max, I drafted Jaden Reed on my team. Did I make a risky pick or not? Depends on when you drafted him, Max. And you know a few things, right? Size of your league. Ooh, I am up. Let's go Niners. New wide receiver, relatively young wide receiving core. You've got Romeo Doubs. You've got Christian Watson, who should be the standout wide receiver one for Green Bay. And you've got a new quarterback in Jordan Love, who's got the keys handed off to him. A lot of new factors. New wide receiver, new signal caller. Same coach. Same running backs. I am a big fan of assuming that teams will stick to their stability. The stability on that team right now is Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I feel like they're going to get a lot. I think Jaden Reed will be around in free agency. It's a 1 quarterback. This is Sports Spotlight. 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex. 10-man PPR league. My team is Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Kirk, Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, George Kittle, and Marquise Brown. I like it, man. Amon-Ra is very underrated. I feel like not enough people are talking about him, despite the fact he won me a lot of games last year, right? Detroit kind of blew up their backfield for Jahmyr Gibbs. This guy was a constant. I love the volume, by the way. You know, I'll take this over what A.J. Brown had any day of the week, just because we can't rely on a couple of bombs a game to go well all the time, especially with somebody of Amon-Ra St. Brown's size. He's not the biggest dude, but he got his touches. Over 100 over 100 receptions, 6 touchdowns. They messed around and gave him the ball 9 times via the handoff as well. I'm on the clock soon. We probably just see, are there any running backs? Because obviously there's going to be a bye coming up. Mostert, I mean, loaded backfield, right? Zeke to New England. We've got a touchdown merchant. Tyler Algier, how much will he be used? We've got a bunch of second options right here. Rashawn Johnson out of Texas. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are handcuffs. New man in town. Raheem Mostert's been sustainable, but he's older. We're going to go Singletary. Don't love the move, but again, we are in a 14-team league. We've done a pretty nice job with our bye weeks. You just want to keep an eye on those. Don't let them scare the crap out of you, right? But 2 5s, a couple 7s, a couple 9s, a couple 6s. I feel like it's pretty evenly dispersed right now. Size of my league is 14, and I drafted him in the 9th round. Max, I'll be transparent with you. I feel like that's a little early. Jaden Reed, new wide receiver, new quarterback. Maybe it turns out well, but right now I feel like the staples of that offense, you know, Tunyon did leave. He went to the Bears. The staples of that offense, I believe, are going to be the guys who performed last year, at least at the beginning. Maybe it pans out, but we know Christian Watson's going to get his targets. Romeo Doubs will get his targets. And then obviously A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones in any fashion will get their touches as well. I just wait until the end for a kicker, by the way. I really am not going to stretch. This guy makes everything, right? Daniel Carlson, I love him, but first kicker to repeat as the top fantasy scorer at the position since Gostowski in 2015, Patriots legend. But yeah, Sports Spotlight. I love the team. Cam Akers, you know, is he going to get his job back? and keep it? That's the question, but, I mean, we're reaching deep into our bench. I feel like all things considered, Aaron Jones has a productive year again. We've kind of got the handcuff with the new quarterback. Jordan Love may rely on some dump-offs. We'll see how confident he gets, but you can never go wrong with a pass-catching running back like Aaron Jones, who, despite the productivity of A.J. Dillon, has all but lost his job, right? Oh, I'm on the clock. Let's keep going flex here. KJ Osborne, I don't hate it. They do have Jordan Addison now, so he might be the wide receiver 3. Gerald Everett. Let's go Osborne. I was thinking about Zay Jones, but he could be the 4th option for all we know. It is pouring by where I live. Holy crap. Let's see where these guys are going, right? Jahan Dotson, I feel like that's a little high. Did have a few nice games towards the end, but now it's Sam Howell, I believe. Elijah Moore to Cleveland. There he goes. Aaron Rodgers could be a steal. Cowboys D. With Micah and Trayvon Diggs getting you plenty of points. Geno. No one's talking about Geno after that wonderful year, man. Greg Dulcich. Nico Collins kind of showed up towards the end of the year when Cooks wasn't getting as many. Anthony Richardson. There's a rookie I'd watch out for. Maybe you get the connection with him and Pittman if you're in a deeper league. Michael Gallup, always a good constant. There's Zeke, round 11 right now. Adam Thielen could be underrated. New quarterback in Bryce Young, obviously number 1 overall. He's got the job. First pass of his preseason and NFL career goes right to Adam Thielen on a comeback route. I feel like he's going to be good, old, reliable for Young, and he could sneakily have a 1,000-yard season. Maybe I'll do a video on that. My bench is Higbee, Jordan Addison. I love that. Zay Flowers, I love that. Khalil Herbert, I love that. And Tyler Algier. You know, we've got to handcuff some running backs. Just talked about it, Sports Spotlight. We don't have a ton of Derrick Henrys and Jonathan Taylors from a couple of years ago. It's A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. It's Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift. That's kind of the league that we live in right now. 14 team. Where do we go? Let's go Algier. The Falcons ran the ball more than anybody not named the Chicago Bears last season, so let's go with Algier. Yeah, 14 team and Jaden Reed is still up max, and we're in the 12th round. I feel like maybe he goes in a late round, right? But 9 might have been a bit of a jump. Just because we haven't seen the output. Maybe I eat my words, right? Kadarius Toney. Yep, Jared Goff had a nice comeback year. Almost a career best. Rashad Bateman. How's the wide receiving core going to be with OBJ in there? Kenny Pickett. I feel like that's a bit of a jump. I do like Pickett, but didn't put up crazy good numbers for fantasy last season. Yeah, he was 28. 7-9. 24-04. Ran the ball a little bit. I feel like they could have gone without picking Kenny Pickett, and he, with the exception of maybe a Steelers fan, which maybe Team Shank is, probably doesn't go drafted and you grab him off waivers. Tyler Bass, we're starting to see some kickers go. Maybe I want a decent kicker. We'll see. Four spots left. Greg the Leg, man. Now he's with the Jets. Making his way around the league. High floor fantasy kicker over the years. Definitely has the range. He's called Greg the Leg for a reason. Cairo Santos was Mr. Consistent for a bit. Struggled towards the end. Didn't get a whole lot of tries, right? The Bears just didn't score a lot of points. Dicker the kicker. Can never go wrong. Just not much of a sample size, though. We'll go Greg the Leg, because why not? That's fun, right? Yeah, I don't see anything crazy here right now. Curtis Samuel's kind of enticing, but it's not Carson Wentz and Curtis Samuel anymore, so we'll go Greg the Leg. Don't hate it. Oh, I missed you guys. This is fun. Sports Spotlight says my running backs are pretty weak. Any trade targets you think are undervalued that I could get in at a good price? I'd go after the tandem in the backfield of the Eagles, man. They ran the ball more than anybody not named the Bears and the Falcons. I'm pretty sure they were third, if not definitely top 5 in runs. And yes, we factor Jalen Hurts in there, but Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift, I go get one of those. Because they both got hurt last year. So yes, it could bite you, but also if the other one gets hurt, all of a sudden you've got a number 1 running back and one of the best running offenses in the league. I mean, oh my gosh, one of their best plays of the year, right? They use it over and over. A guaranteed, not at all secret QB sneak because they have so much confidence in that offensive line. I think Penny or Swift I would go with, really. Swift didn't have a season-ending injury last year. He was kind of just in and out. So I think DeAndre Swift and or Rashad Penny are undervalued for sure. Got my eye on Russell Gage, not going to lie to you. Chase Claypool was flat out ignored last year. He is the running back or the wide receiver too, so. I mean, Darnell Mooney even went before him, so if that tells you anything, right? Just in terms of targets and attention paid. Do we go out and get a backup quarterback in this deep of a league? No one stands out to me, if I'm being honest. Most run-heavy offense last year, Deontay Foreman, pretty dang efficient. Let's go with it. Now's around the time, Max, where I'd maybe go after a Jaden Reed. And there he goes, right? Mid-14. I feel like that's around where he should go. Again, just so many new factors. New quarterback, new wide receiver. What's the connection looking like? You can really pay attention during training camp. Don't love the Cordero Patterson pick, I'm going to be honest with you. He is older. Kind of came in before running backs were treated better, and by that I mean didn't get the ball shoved in their face 30 times a game. So he's seen a lot of impact, but he's a big dude, so maybe he gets a kick return for a touchdown and you have an explosive week. Robert Woods moved over to Houston. Could we see an example of a veteran wide receiver connecting well with a rookie quarterback? I just made that comparison with Bryce Young and Adam Thielen. I feel like Thielen could sneakily have a 1,000-yard season. Wouldn't go that far with Robert Woods, but that's who's on my radar right now. Oh, that's not him. That's not him. Oh, dear. Okay. We'll go with Robert Woods. But yeah, Sports Spotlight. I'm thinking DeAndre Swift / Rashad Penny. Khalil Herbert, honestly, he's not that great of a pass catcher, so be careful with that, but he'll get volume out of the backfield. Isaiah Pacheco, I still feel like not enough people are talking about him and the awesome year that he had. They're more so talking about the fact that CEH lost his job. And we're just going to flex it out. Oh, actually, Derek Carr. I mean, I feel like the Saints have to win that division, right? The Falcons going with a new quarterback. The Panthers going with a new quarterback. The Bucs going with a new quarterback. And the Saints going with a new quarterback. But I'll take Derek Carr over Baker Mayfield, Desmond Ridder. Oh, man. And Bryce Young right now, at least. I'll take Derek Carr with my last pick. I feel like that's pretty solid. Someone who's going to get you over 20 passing touchdowns. He'll make his mistakes. He's going to shove in the yardage category, though. If Michael Thomas can stay healthy, him, Chris Olave, Callaway, look out. I think Derek Carr goes for 4,000 yards. Just a true volume guy. And it gets real thin down here. Holy cow. There's Marcus Mariota. Shout out to the quarterback documentary. I felt like that was pretty good. Some dynamic personalities. You get the top in Patrick Mahomes. You get a guy who's been hanging around the middle for a while in Kirk Cousins. And then you get Marcus Mariota, who, you know, started for a year and then kind of phased out of relevancy, but still fun. Yeah, let's go Derek Carr with our last pick. Can't go wrong. Cannot go wrong. Alec Pierce went. Cameron Dicker. Chase Edmonds. Russell Gage. Josh Downs. Okay. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Underrated pick. It's kind of all just big targets at the beginning. The rest are auto now. So take this with a grain of salt. About 14 yards per reception. I forget the stats right in front of me there. How's it going to go with Deshaun? Don't really know, but definitely some upside there. And there's our team. Okay. Trevor Lawrence at the QB. He's got all the weapons in the world right now. It'll be probably in some way, shape, or form. It'll go Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, barring everyone being healthy, right? Could be Calvin Ridley, then Christian Kirk. Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne. And then we got Aaron Jones in the backfield with a rookie quarterback in Jordan Love. Kenneth Walker III just got to stay healthy. Not really worried about a questionable after 1 week in the preseason. Tyreek Hill. That speaks for itself. Garrett Wilson with a Hall of Fame quarterback under center after already having, 1,100 yards with one of the worst quarterback rooms we've seen. Freiermuth, just a middle-of-the-road, consistent tight end. Smith and Jigba. That's a rookie I'm going to take a chance on, especially with Tyler Lockett being north of 30. 49ers defense, can you ever go wrong with that front seven? I think the answer is no. Greg the Leg, just for the memes. Gabe Davis, Devin Singletary, KJ Osborne, Tyler Algier. We're going handcuff running backs here. Deontay Foreman. Robert Woods, veteran wide receiver with a rookie quarterback. If you can justify a lot of these, I feel like you're in a good spot. And then Derek Carr, I'll take him with my last pick in a division that I feel like should be pretty vulnerable. Yeah, I could sit with that. Shaking off the rust here. Sorry, as I just pull my camera back off, right? There we go. Yeah, any questions that you guys have at all? I'm going to try and do this a lot in the next couple of weeks. Pick a certain topic and then just mock draft it out. See how everyone's responding. It can only get better with a greater sample size, right? So if I do 10, 15, 20 mock drafts, I can kind of channel where people are going. It goes from group to group for sure, but it's a good way to gauge it. So thank you for joining as always. It is good to be back, and that is an understatement. Drop any questions I was unable to answer in that comment section below. Like and subscribe if you have not already to out-research your fantasy opponent. The return is here. Stay tuned for more live streams and videos in the coming days, and get ready for quite the season in 2023 to 2024. Have a wonderful night, everyone. I'm Corey Sparks, and this is Fantasy Armchair Athletes.